In this video, we're on a big adventure in Israel.
Hi, I'm Troy.
And I'm Andrea, and we love adventures. Whether it's in our own backyard or on the other side of the globe, we're always looking for something to do. We love to ride bikes, we do bike reviews, foodie adventures, all kinds of stuff. We just love to have fun. And in this series of videos, we want to take you along on a big adventure. We are in Israel and Rome for 2 weeks, and we are so excited and can't wait to take you along. Troy and Andrea here, and we are so excited. We are enjoying our first 2 days of our big 2-week adventure in Israel and Rome.
Now we say big adventure because the name of the channel is Troy and Andrea's Little Adventures, but this is a big adventure, and the reason we say that is because we are finally getting to travel international. Now, Andrea and I served as missionaries down in South America several years ago, and then we also traveled all over Central and South America, as well as getting an opportunity to go to Italy. But that was pre-COVID, and so this is the first time in a few years we're finally able to get back out international and travel. But we are excited. We're in downtown Jerusalem, just outside of the old city. We've had a wonderful couple of days. Okay, Andrea and I are standing on top of Tel Beersheba, and in the Bible you see where it talks about the kingdom of Israel being from Dan to Beersheba. Well, this is Beersheba, this place where we are today, which is really fascinating. There's the well of Beersheba here, is a well that Abraham dug along with Abimelech as a kind of a truce, or so that their people could get along. And so we looked at that well, or what they believe is to be that well, but there's so much fascinating information around here, and archaeological, just all the different things. It's just our first stop in Israel is a really cool one.
After leaving Tel Beersheba, we made our way to the Dead Sea, where we stayed the night. It's the lowest place on earth, and it was amazing. You cannot come all the way to the Middle East and not go float in the Dead Sea. So we brought some clothes, so we went and changed into that, and we floated in the Dead Sea. It was amazing. I don't know what I expected as far as the color. I thought it was going to be black. You say dead, I picture black. It was the most amazing, just aqua, teal, blue, green. It was beautiful. And that salt, picking up all that salt, it wasn't sand, you actually picked up salt. It was amazing. Had such a great time, and that's definitely something, if you come this way, do not miss floating in the Dead Sea.
Yeah, we stayed in a real nice hotel there and everything. It was weird to kind of think that you're in the lowest place in all of the earth. I mean, we were 1,400 feet below sea level, which is really kind of a weird thing, but it was so interesting and it was so much fun.
So on this tour, every day has a theme, and our theme for today was strongholds in the wilderness. After we had a wonderful breakfast at the hotel, we checked out and we got on the bus and we started heading towards Masada.
So I'm with our guide, John Moore, who is a good friend of ours and who put these tours together. And how many of these tours have you done so far, John?
I think this is about the 10th or 11th one, something like that, yeah.
10th or 11th, that's fantastic. So tell us where we're at and what's going on.
Well, we're actually in the wilderness of Judea, just wedged between the Judean mountains and the Dead Sea. There's a strip of land about 11 miles wide, 55 miles long. And it's a great place the Bible speaks of where David and others came for a place of refuge and just to hide out like David did away from King Saul and then later on from Absalom. So yeah, and up here at this place that's known as the Stronghold, tradition says this is where David came at one point to hide out from Saul. And then later on, the Hasmoneans built a stronghold up here, and then eventually King Herod, in around 23 BC, something like that, he built a huge mountain fortress up here with a palace, a three-tiered palace on the northern side, and just, yeah, tremendous place to visit. And today it's a, UNESCO has defined it, has labeled it as basically one of the great historical places in the world, and it's a national monument for Israelis today.
Well, it's so much bigger than I was expecting. I
Yeah.
mean, it is huge. It is really a big place. Well, thank you so much, brother.
Yeah.
Looking forward to being
Oh,
with
man.
you here this next couple of weeks, or next several days anyway.
Oh,
So
man, we love you guys. So glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
All right, let's go check this place out. I gotta tell you, this is, to me, just so amazing. I love the story of Masada. If you've never read the story, you definitely need to watch the movie or go read about it. It is amazing, all the different history that is here on this mountain with the palace of King Herod, with the Israelites that came up here and held their last stand against the Romans, just everything that happened here, and to come up here and see this. And first thing that impressed me, not only that it's beautiful, but it is way larger. It's bigger than I ever imagined it would to be. I had this idea it was smaller for some reason, but there were over 1,000 people that lived up here during the time of the rebellion. So it's pretty fascinating stuff and just incredible to see all this archaeology. Now from Masada, we got back on the bus and started making our way north. And one of the coolest things was going alongside the Dead Sea. So the part that we stayed at was actually an industrial part. It's sectioned off, and so you see different sections of the Dead Sea. But as you move north, you get into the more natural part of the Dead Sea. And I just could not stop taking video and pictures of the Dead Sea as we're moving north. It is so big. It's not real wide. You can see across the other side, but you can't see the length of it. But there's all kinds of agriculture along the way, all these date palms and all kinds of other things that is their industry here in Israel. So anyway, we made our way north to a site that I've been wanting to see forever, and that is Qumran. Okay guys, we're about to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Ever since I began studying the Bible, ever since I can remember getting into the archaeological aspects of the Bible, there's one event that stands out above all others, and that event is the finding of the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls completely changed Bible scholarship that had been around for hundreds of years. And the last about 1850s or so, there were a lot of scholars that basically said that you couldn't trust several books of the Bible because they were corrupted from different things, different writings, until 1947, whenever they found in a cave a bunch of scrolls. And in those scrolls, they dated back to somewhere around 200 BC. And when they compared the scrolls with the Bibles that we have today, they found out that it matched up to 95%. 95%. And not only did it match up 95%, but the small percentage that wasn't the same, it was just very insignificant little things. So basically the entire Bible that we have, the Old Testament scriptures, are exactly the same as we had for thousands of years. And it's all because of what you're seeing behind me here, this place in Qumran. And Qumran is a place where the Essenes were that made all these copies of the Bible. And this is what we mean by the Dead Sea Scrolls. If I zoom around here, or turn around, you can see the Dead Sea back behind me here. And so just a short distance from there, up in these mountains back up behind me, you can see the area where they found these scrolls. And this spot right here, right down here, can't see real well, but right down in this area where you can see cave 11. I believe that's the number. I may have my number wrong on that, but that cave right there, a Bedouin boy, a shepherd, had a goat that went up in there, and he wanted to scare that goat out of there instead of climbing up into the cave. So he threw a rock up into there, and he heard something crack, something break. And so when we went to investigate, he found out that it was some scrolls inside that clay pot. Amazing, amazing. One of the most significant finds when it comes to Bible archaeology and the reliance of the Bible. One of the most significant finds in centuries. And I've been looking forward to this moment to lay my eyes on that cave. Man, just unbelievable. 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 Wow. I'm so excited to be here, so happy to have this opportunity. This is one of my big highlights. Well, all right, y'all, we are so excited to finally make this video. And the reason we say that is because this has been almost 4 years in the making. It started out with us just making plans of something we wanted to do. Some friends of ours who put together these tour groups invited us probably 6 or 7 years ago to do this, but it wasn't really feasible for us at the time. And so probably about 4 years ago, we started making plans of thinking about, you know what, we might want to do this. And then 3 years ago, we said, yes, let's do it. And so we paid the money, and then COVID hit.
So it was March of 2020, we were supposed to be on this trip. We were packing our bags to go, and the world shut down. So we've had several delays. We thought maybe we're gonna go later that year, and then it was into the next year, and now it was into the year after that in March. Israel still wasn't open, and then we thought
basically gave up.
We gave up. We thought we were not
after
going.
all the, we were fortunate that they kept wanting to, postpone it for us, and we were going to be not lose our money or anything like that. But then the next to the last time, with all the COVID restrictions, we finally just gave up. We said that's not going to happen.
Yeah, we thought we were just going to lose the money and just not ever go, and we were really disappointed. And then all of a sudden we got an email about the trip happening in May because Israel was starting to lift the restrictions. So we're like, okay, maybe this will happen. We've been really nervous to get our hopes up, and we just, until we were actually on that plane and landing in Israel, we really weren't going to believe it was actually happening. So it's really happening.
It's really happening. So we're so excited to be here, and we're going to be here for several days, over a week, and then we go from here, we go to Rome. And so we're going to be vlogging different parts of the trip. And so we're actually in day 2 of our time here in Israel, as Andrea already said earlier in the video. But we're going to be breaking this up into different days, maybe a couple of days at a time or something. We're so excited to bring you along with us. Again, we want to say thanks to all of our subscribers and all those who follow our videos. We greatly appreciate it. But hey, It, as she said, is finally Israeli happening, and so let's go have some fun.
So after leaving Qumran, we made our way to the Traditional Baptismal Site. Now this is the area where it is believed that John the Baptist baptized Jesus. So we checked that area out and dipped our fingers down in the water of the River Jordan. It's also believed that that is where the Israelites crossed Jordan River to take the Promised Land. From there, after checking it out, we went through modern Jericho, and that was really interesting because it reminded me so much of Paraguay. Other than the writing in Arabic, you could have told me I was in Paraguay and I would have believed you. There were so many similarities. It was amazing. So from there, we went on up to Old Jericho and to Tel Jericho.
So here's another incredible place that we're getting to see in Israel. Right over my shoulder here is where they've dug down inside a tel. And a tel is basically a mound that a city was founded upon or was, and then it would get destroyed through a battle or something like that. And then they would rebuild it on, or rebuild on top of that. And then another city would get destroyed and they'd rebuild on top of that, and it winds up making a big hill. And so this particular tel that I'm standing on is the world's oldest city. We're on Tel Jericho, and here a lot of archaeological work has been done trying to determine the age of the site and things like that. And so this space you see behind me is where they would dig down and look at the different strata of all those destruction levels. And so it goes back to some, they say, as far back as 7,000 BC. So just incredible, the history that we're standing on right here. So whether you believe in the Bible or not, the fact is this tel represents, as I said, the oldest city in the world. And so this mound is where some of the first human beings settled and built, and then you continue to build upon it. I just looked at these stones. They had to dig down for a tower. Can you imagine a tower that was built up high to overlook, and yet it has been built up over the years that you have to now dig down to that tower to see the base of it. And that is believed to be some of the oldest, or the oldest man-made structure in the world. So just to be able to stand here at this place and looking around at all the different things is just amazing. All right, for some of you who do know the Bible story, here's a fascinating part that I'm seeing about being here on Tel Jericho. So you might have read in the book of Joshua where the Israelites came across from Moab, and if you look over my shoulder here, there are the mountains of Moab back over there, and there's this valley, the Jordan Valley. And so they came across that valley, and there's one point where you have 600,000 soldiers. There's over 1 million people with all of Israel that's coming over. And imagine being here on this tel, looking out across that valley and seeing all of those people. Now, the story goes that some spies were sent in, and Rahab was one of those that had faith in God and what she had heard about God and about how that he was leading the Israelites and that he had opened up the Red Sea. And so she asked those spies to save her whenever she knew that they were going to take this city that was built up and fortified. And of course, the story goes that they crossed over the Jordan River, and then they came and they circled the city. For 7 days, they went around this city. And then on the 7th day, they went around the city 7 times. Then the priests blew trumpets, and then the people shouted, and the walls fell flat. Now, that archaeological site that I showed you earlier, that's where they have found some archaeological evidence that those bricks fell outwards, which you never see in a siege or in a destruction of a city. You always see them going inwards because they're battering rams. But in this case, the bricks fell outward, and they found archaeological evidence of that. And so just fascinating to be standing here on Jericho, looking out across that valley, this is what you would see, this view standing here. And it's so incredible to know that this is the view that Rahab would have had, and that hope that she had. It's just so inspiring and so fascinating, and it's just amazing to be standing here on this tale.
Well, this is a pretty incredible place. It's really special. It's got me a little emocionada today because I just spent the last several months, I teach 5th and 6th grade, and we just studied the book of Joshua and talked about the Israelites coming into the promised land, and we just went to the Jordan and talked about, I taught the kids, we kind of would walk around the classroom and set up the tables in the middle like it was Jericho and marched around it to kind of get them so that they could picture it in their mind. And it blows me away that I'm standing here now in the middle of that, of what we acted out, and I'm standing here. It's emotional.
So after we finished an amazing time and just overwhelming emotional experience there at Tel Jericho, we left there, came back out through modern Jericho, and then started making our way up to Jerusalem, just like the ancient Israelites did, going from Jericho up to Jerusalem. A lot of people don't realize that because you're this really low area, and Jerusalem is actually up in the mountains, up in the hill country of Israel. And so we made our way up, and we pulled over at one site to check out the Wadi Qelt, which is the ancient route that the Israelites would take. And looking at that, you can see why the story of the Good Samaritan was so interesting, or so fascinating, or so intriguing, because you can see places where robbers would hide, and how treacherous the path was, and just it's so fascinating to see all that. And then from there we came up into the city of Jerusalem, the ancient city of God, the ancient city of David, the most historical city in all the world. And there is so much to see and do here. We're going to be looking at Jerusalem over the next several days. We're going to be right here at this hotel for the next 4 days, and so there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to experience. And we got to start our experience by going up to Mount Scopus and looking over the ancient city, and you could see the Dome of the Rock off in the distance. You could see some of those ancient walls, and it was just filled my heart up to see all that. It was wonderful. So it has been an outstanding first couple of days here in Israel. We can't believe we're here still. We're so thankful to be here, and we can't wait to show you more. So thanks for joining Andrea and me on one of our big adventures. We'll see you in the next video coming up real soon.